So welcome to the episode of Seasoned Scholars, and with us we have Professor Damià Barceló from Spanish National Research Council, and he belongs to the Institute of Environmental Assessment and Water Research. When I talk about water research, his devotion and his personal liking about the water is very well known, but his citations are exemplary, his contributions are exemplary. But for me personally, I have seen that how he led from the front WBE research papers. Science of Total Environment has emerged as the principal venue to publish such work. People go there and try to see that what is the trend going on in wastewater-based epidemiology. He is, of course, editor-in-chief and of Science of Total Environment, and several. I mean, his editorial job itself shows a lot of the wide interdisciplinarity and lot of recognition. So because this format is such that our guest introduced himself. So with this small introduction, because I would like to welcome Professor Damià. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation and gracing us for your appearance. Thank you very much.
A pleasure for me.
Thank you so much. So I would little bit explain the format that happened and idea behind this podcast. What I thought that when I came to, actually the idea originated when my PhD supervisor, Professor Hiroki Furumai, completed 65 years on 29th June. So 29th June he completed, and at that time he completed 65. So I thought that what can I do for him? And so I made a video clip, a message for him to my gratitude. Then I thought, no, I also want to display his human side, and I want to interview him. And then I wrote to him that can I have an interview with you or so that we have the different. Then I reached to you, and then it becomes 1 + 1 = 11. And when you said yes, then I thought, okay, let's make it big.
No problem. Yeah.
So then
social media is very important nowadays, as you know. I mean, this information is very important. I know that the question that you sent me and how to proceed with this, and also to scholars, they want to know how to publish, what is important. I think this is very important. Dissemination activities are very relevant.
Yeah. So actually, and also the other side of it is that, and when we start collaborating, I saw that it's not. I know that we started with a fight that why there's so much delay on my papers. But I saw that how quickly you can grasp subject, how quickly you can value the content. And I again would like to thank you on this platform that just recent paper that we could publish in Chemical Engineering Journal. You thought that you were the first who told that, oh, we can have little bit more value of this work. We can get better return on this work, and you encouraged us to submit to the.
Did you see the new impact factor of chemical engineering is over 13 impact factor? It's one of it's very good journal. So I encourage you, because I think the topic fits very well. This topic was fitting very well into the journal. So it's a big value for you, and everybody will know you. They already know you, but they will know you even more now.
Yeah, so I mean, I would have not dared to submit there because, several times they rejected my work. But because you told, then and it was a long battle, but nicely won. So that's what I thought that why not to know a human side of a researcher, which I was not even thought of, that he can be such a quick learner and also very good at mentoring, very good at caring young guys. So that's why I thought that this is the worth for me. So it must be worth for many young generations and so and so forth. So thank you very much for joining today. I hope you have enough time. And so we will have the 3 parts of the conversation. Part A will be knowing about your journey. so that once you will tell the journey, people will understand or take the lessons from there. And then there will be troubleshooting or philosophy. And then the third will be being human. We will know who is, what is the liking of Professor Damià and so on and so on. No, Professor. We will just will know who is Damià Barceló. So let's just start.
Thank you.
So can you, my first question, please briefly let us know about your journey in your own words. I mean, yeah.
You are talking about the scientific journey.
Yeah, scientific. Your scientific journey also as an individual. You can start with like where you born or your parents, or then you can go with that. Okay, that today we are seeing each other.
Yeah, well, I was born in a small town in Catalonia, but a very small one, around 1,000 inhabitants. And during my time, it was, you know, I am already 67 this year, but I can continue up to 70 in Spain or even more. So, so at that time it was very difficult because you know, there was no TV. When I was born, there was no TV. Young generations today, they don't understand. So now the difference between today and when I was born, because when I was young, yeah, very young, of course, at the teenager in the school and the high school or even primary school, we needed to go to the library for the books. Today, the information is coming to you by internet. You know, you don't need to go to the library. Everything is in the net. So it's a big difference. So okay, I studied there. My father was a teacher, so we were always. My father, for him, the most important is that we got good marks. So from when I was a kid, I was learning mathematics and Latin because it was compulsory in the school. So, and I think that was, of course, then I went to the school, to the high school in the town, the main town, and then at the University of Barcelona I did chemistry, and then I spent a couple of years in Amsterdam as a postdoc. I think for a young scientist, as you know, it's very important to do either the PhD or the postdoc abroad because you learn more things. You know.
Yeah, definitely.
Not necessarily you learn, because the chemistry in Spain is very good, but in Holland, what I learned is more practical aspects, because the Dutch people are very good in instrumentation, you know, in like to devices and things like that. You don't learn more about it's a win-win situation in a way. When you do a postdoc, you teach to them something. In India, you are very good scientists in India. There are Indian scientists everywhere in the world. So and it's obvious that the chemistry is good in India, but I think you learn other things, how to work in other labs. So, and then of course after that I came back to Spain. I got a job, and then I started do many things. At the same time, I was also starting to collaborate with editorials, with Elsevier, because my former boss in Holland, he was already working for the Journal of Chromatography. So I knew the people, I knew the system. So, and I think you need to like this, you know, it's something is this, the editorial work goes together with the scientific work. Of course, you are a reviewer, you are a writer, and at the same time, you may be an editor at some point.
Yeah, that is nice. And I guess I do concur that, and I always say that this is, you know, it's not good to go into the married life without honeymoon. So, so it means this postdoc is really is that period which only PhD people can have, a rigorous period, rigorous training. After that, it's time to learn from the different labs. And even one article in Nature I studied is that they say that if you have the two postdoc, try to do it in different two labs, so that you will learn the culture, you will learn the management.
Exactly.
And
exactly. It's everything. It's about what you say. It's not only the science. It's also how people behave. You know, how is in a way the Netherlands is very similar to the US because it's everybody needs to is a bit free countries, like more Anglo-Saxon style. No, Mediterranean style is different. Indian style is different. I was traveling often now to China. It's completely different. In China, it's completely different because PhD students there is another culture, as you know. It's so. Each country has a different vision, and it's very important to learn about this. It's very important.
Yeah. I mean, I had the two extreme experience of like seeing East Japan and also the US. And just one example, if I can cite, is that in Japan, the students are so courteous that they will be really so much like teacher is coming, then they are even more disciplined and more everything like kindergarten student. And in the US, okay, teacher comes, what's the big deal? He comes to give it the lecture. So yeah, that is very interesting.
This is what you say exactly. This is like that. The same in China. China, the Asian culture is like the big professor is the big boss, and the student has almost no initiative. So I think this is not good. The other extreme, of course, the US or even Europe, Western Europe is the same. The student has a lot of freedom, and it's completely freedom. So, okay, sorry, it's different.
Yeah, but it's based on culture. But of course, China, I have not much experience. Japan, and Korea, I had is that they participate, but it is in their inherent culture that they cannot they take it the teachers very high. Coming to the next question is that how did you become a scientist? I mean, when you thought that PhD is something I must do or I am going to do? Or you nowadays I would say that SOP, if I read SOP there, it says that since the childhood I was curious about water. So whether you were that child or you later you decided that you will do PhD.
No, I had the idea to be a scientist when I was doing a student, and then when I finished my studies, in fact, I got offered to go to the pharmaceutical industry because in Spain, in my area, pharmaceutical industry is very strong, but I refused the offer. I said I want to do my PhD, and I prefer the academics, university, and then so I had choices to go several. I got several offers, not only during my PhD, even after my PhD, to go to private industry. But I said I want to do research, and this is what I want to do. It's basically, I think it's important that you know what are you doing and why you are doing. Sometimes now in the last years we got PhD students that they were doing the PhD because they did not find another job. This is not a good option. When a PhD student comes to my lab, I always say to him or to her, if you do a PhD to get more money, you're in the wrong place. Don't go to industry. Here is not to make money. Because you like to do your job, is for fun, but not for the money. Maybe you will get a lot of big salary, but not necessary. It's not. And I think this is very important. That is something like, you need to like this. Otherwise, better go to the industry or do something else.
So actually, what I wanted to know is that for me, I didn't want to do master because I wanted to, like in India, we have like every 10+2 a student, pass out a student wants to become a medical doctor or engineer, or they will go to the defense or so and so forth. But so I didn't want to go to higher education. But once I went to MSc, then I tried. I was like, here I can make a lot of name. So name was the one that that bring me here. That okay, if it publishes, it comes to Google. That was very interesting for me at that time. Google came, so I used to type my name and it appears. So this is a magic. So that's what I want to know. That when did you, whether it was during your graduation or in masters, when did you decide that you are going to do research and in BE in academics?
I thought this to do, and in fact, I should say that my family, my father, now he died a few years ago, he was a teacher, he always supported me. So he said, you are in the right direction. I think this is very important for you and for your life. So maybe if you have a family or your friends or, I don't know, family maybe, because in Spain, like in India, family is important. I think if your family says, okay, this is not important, you need to get, then maybe you change your mind, because when you are young, you could do different things. There are different options. No? But I think I had in mind this, and my family said, okay, go ahead, and then okay, I just do it. So I think, but of course, it's when you are young, you are very much influenced by other culture, other things, and you can do. It's very critical, from let's say 16, 17, 20s. This is very critical years, because you may change your life completely. I mean, it depends which direction you take, because in science, if you start doing science, it's always You need to, it's almost 24 hours every day. So it's not 24 hours, but almost 24 hours.
Yeah. So actually, this is very nice that, I mean, you had that family support and you were very clear. But it's similar like, yeah, I want to marry, but how to find a good girl to marry? Similarly, how to how to find a good supervisor or institute? Did you think that I would go somewhere and then do the PhD, or how did you find that topic as well as the institute and guide?
That should say I was lucky, but yeah, that's a good point, because some of my colleagues, when they did a postdoc, if you find a bad supervisor, it can be very bad for you, and that's for sure, because unfortunately there are too many. There are too many bad supervisors and people who don't care at all. I was very lucky because I knew him from. I liked conferences, so when I was a student, I was helping to organize international conferences. And I met Roland Frey, who also died very young, by the way, in the 50s, mid-50s. He was Swiss-Canadian, but he was working in Amsterdam. So I liked his character also, because his ideas, he was a very bright person. So I knew him before I was going to a postdoc. So it was not something for me unknown. No? It was somebody that I knew. So I said, okay, I like this guy, so I want to go there. So I think this is very important when you choose for any young student to choose a new lab. If they need to know the person a little bit, otherwise they may be problems, especially if your character is not so strong. I mean, I know some cases that people really were fighting in the lab, maybe you know it too as well, that they were not in a good place, or it does not need to be necessarily very famous guys. Sometimes the very famous guys can be very dangerous. It depends on also the person. You need to look at both sides of the coin. It's not. I think this is a very difficult choice, I should say, very difficult. But in a way, if you are a young scholar, please try and write or call or visit the lab, and also ask the students, because the important an important way to know how the lab is operating is to ask the students working under the professor. They will tell you if they are happy or not, or what is the kind of atmosphere. I think this is very critical point. This is a critical point. Yeah.
Actually, you have raised a very pertinent question, and I can tell you is that knowing the person with whom, or having a comfort level, is very much important. However, I mean, again, I would like to quote my supervisor, which somehow, what happens that when we apply abroad, we probably don't know. We just look at their profile and look at their lab and publications, and then we apply. In those time, perhaps we don't have a chance to know. But if we do masters with somebody, we will be knowing that, okay, that person is how is nature, and can I continue a PhD with that person? So would you like to advise that in that term, that if you are doing masters, you may continue it with the PhD, or PhD you can start with a new one? How people will know that what is the nature? Because by the time they enroll, it's done.
Yeah. Sometimes, I mean, well, also depends. I think it's important to know what do you want, what kind of, when you are in research, what kind of research do you want to do, because my background was analytical chemistry, so I could go to food analysis, to metals. So I decided to go to this area of contaminants and things like that. So it depends. If you see that a lab is very well known and your master is a follow-up, or if you like it, your master, you may continue with your master topic, or you may change. As I told you when I started,
Yeah.
I like, because I already started with this topic with contaminants. Well, in fact, at that time was an industrial process, but working with organic chemicals, organic contaminants. So I think it depends on the topic. Also, the topic may be important, because some people like more instrumentation, other people likes more field side, other people likes more computing, modeling. So I think it's also you need to know when you are a student, what are your skills also, which are your skills, because if you are better doing computing, better to go to modeling. Better go. My best friend is doing chemometrics. He's an excellent guy in chemometrics. He's one of the best. So don't ask him another to do something else. So I think it's also important.
Yeah, I mean, I really feel so. By knowing yourself is the first step. You cannot research about anything else if you don't have some conclusion about yourself. So, and by that time, I think I think we do have alienation about the subject. We know whether we are good at lab or good at field or good at writing or good at sitting in front of computer and playing with the keys. So that is really important, because somehow people ask me, you are generating a lot of data from WB, why don't you model it? I don't like it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. No, same to me. I don't like it. I have my friend who is really modeler capabilities. He likes only to have data, raw data. So send me data. Okay, you get the data. But yeah, you need to like it at a certain point. Otherwise, if you don't like the subject, it's also an important point. Yeah, it's very important.
So, but you know that PhD is also a journey. How many years did you spend as a PhD? 3 years or 5 years?
No, I spent more, because and I spent from 77 to 84, because at that time I was asked to do teaching. So I was part-time. I was associate as assistant prof, so I got a job. But I was asked to teach half a year while I was teaching. So I spent more time because I was teaching a lot. At that time we had a lot of students in the classroom, because it was the big generation, the baby boom generation. The people were born in the mid-60s. So I spent more years because I was teaching. Now a normal PhD student spends 4 years. But at that time, I said it was not easy, because we needed to have students. I was teaching a lot. After I went to Holland, I went back. I went only to do research. I do some teaching now, but only specialized courses. But I spend more time but I think it was a very good experience, because you learn more. The students can be very interesting. I mean, it's very interesting where to go with the students. And also an important issue that many researchers, pure researchers, sometimes they don't know how to explain something. If you are a teacher, you know that a complicated topic you need to explain in an easy way. If you're not able to do this, then you are not a good teacher. It's and this is something that you will learn if you are a teacher. So I think it was a good experience for me, I should say.
Actually, and 7 years has a lot of meaning in our Hindu mythology. We say 7 lives because you know that.
7 lives, yeah.
And even while we marry, we take a 7 times. The 7 times we make the round of the fire.
Always the 7. I also 7. I like the number 7 is a good number. Yeah, I like 7 as well as a number. Yeah.
So, and the promises that we make as a life partner, we are also 7. So there is a lot of. But similarly, like in marriage. So if anything comes with 7, it's very complex also. Yeah. So I would like to ask you: do you have any some sweet and sour moments in the 7 years? I mean, something that you recall as a wow, that was a lovely time, or lovely these things, and something like wow, it was very painful, but now because I am over it, it also remembers me as a good memory.
Not really. Well, not really painful. I mean, from the job point of view, it was, well, we were young. My colleagues, everybody was spending more or less 7 years, because it was at that time. Let's say, at that time when I finished my PhD, the first computers arrived to the department. So we needed to do by typing, and corrections of our directors were pretty hard. I got, I think, in my PhD maybe 6 or 7 corrections each time. So it was terrible. I had 2 PhD directors, very good ones, but so it was the corrections of the topic of the thesis of the material was very tough. We had very young students. The only bad thing that happened to me was my brother, who was younger. He died very young in the 1980s. I had a brother younger than myself, who was a writer. But this was, of course, a personal experience. But that was I mean, personally, I had 1 year, pretty bad year. From 80-81 was pretty bad for me. But anyway, that's something that happened 40 years ago. So it's. But for the rest,
one thing is very nice that you had teaching experience as well as PhD going on. because many times when we apply for a job, they say that how much year you have been teaching, and so on and so forth. So you had a lot of really nice thing that your teaching experience was being counted, and you are still doing PhD. That was a very plus point in your case. I wanted to understand that if I ask you that, what are the defining moment or the turning moment or the turning points in your career as a teacher, scientist?
You mean the breakthrough, the moment that I started
Yeah. I mean, so not only one milestone, you can say that, okay, because in my graduation, I did something in good at, like in my case, I would say that in my 10th board exam, I got a lot of marks in chemistry. So even if I was not liking, but suddenly a love generated from that subject. So I chose the chemistry afterwards. And then again, once I went to the master's, then I suddenly found that, oh, I can Google my name if I am a researcher. So those things. And also, of course, the defining moment was when I was selected for Japan, or I was selected for JNU, and those, so on and so forth. So what was your defining moment or turning points in your career?
Well, I think the choice that I made, because at that time I was starting with chromatography. Was very few people doing chromatography at that time, and there were not many instruments. So I think that was very good. That was a good choice, and I selected also very good. My former supervisor, who also died, was from Sweden, by the way, and he died, but he was one of the first in Spain to do this, to do the technique. So I think that was a good choice. Second one was when I selected to go to Amsterdam with Roland Frey. That was a very good choice, because at that time Spain was not at the European Union, and in Holland, I mean, we were a little bit outside the EU. Well, we were outside the EU, so I learned also how to manage under the EU rules, and also to learn from a lab which was very, very well equipped, and with a lot of American mentality. You know, US, a lot of people from US. It was full of foreigners. As you know, when you are in a very important lab, the people who are working are the foreigners. The locals, they don't work. So because basically they stop at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and they go at home, and all the other ones we work till midnight. So, but anyway, this was my two turning points. Of course, when I went back to Spain, I could start my group. Well, I was at that time Spain joined the EU, and I was able to get funding from the EU because I was attending meetings, and I got some reputation already from the beginning. I should say I was also lucky. You know, it's not only that sometimes is a point that you should be lucky also in life, or you take the opportunity when it comes to you. You know, when you see something which is relevant. And I thought that, okay, the European Union, because most of the funding in Spain, most of the main funding is coming through the European Union funding. Spanish funding is not so much. It's basic, but you can get something, of course, as students. But the main funding is the EU. So I think these are probably the choice of the PhD and the postdoc. And after that, when I returned to Spain, I got a permanent job, and then I could start after 3 or 4 years a small group, and then I started this. I think this was, but I should say that this was, of course, always includes a hard work. You know, you cannot stop working, as you know, because you did the same thing, I guess. So you know that you should never stop, and of course continue with a topic which I was also lucky with the topic, because I started with LCMS. I was one of the pioneers doing LCMS, which now many people knows, but at that time few people knew. In the 80s, mid 80s, there were a few labs doing this. So I was also lucky with the technique, I should say, because after that it was an explosion. You know, it was a big bombardment of this technique. Now is used for everything, for measuring everything.
I mean, and nowadays, one change I have also seen, one thing is very much important, is that being ahead, or being on the time, or ahead of the time at least, is very much important. Trending research is important. We have to find that if there is a new instrument like chromatography that you have told, still it is working, still it is relevant. So catching on the tide and being on the surge is very much important. And that's why your paper are a lot of cited, I have seen, is that where pharmaceuticals were analyzed when analyzing pharmaceutical itself used to be a good point. Yeah, so those things is there. Moving ahead, of course, perhaps you didn't say that, okay, the turning point as a I got a job or I got a administrative position or editor. So I would like to ask you that when did you get your first offer as editor? And whether you started with like assistant, the editorial board, associate editor, and then editor-in-chief. I mean, how was your experience or journey as an editor?
Well, my first journey was many years ago in the 90s. It was by chance in the Trans-Analytical Chemistry, which is a very good journal in analytical chemistry. The publisher wanted to do a volume on environmental analysis because it was mainly analytical chemistry, I don't know, food, clinical. And they said to me, oh, I am unable to find an editor to do this. And then he asked me, okay, he said, no problem, I will arrange a special issue, no? And then after 1 year, he said me, if you want to get the job of as associate editor to be in the board. And that was my first job. So then I started because I had many connections. My advantage, because I was running many European projects, and because after coming from Holland, and I started to apply for projects in Europe, the project should be with different countries, at least 3 to 4 countries. So I was able to invite many people to the special issue, and then they asked me also if I could go for a book collection, and then everything started slowly. It's a slow career to be editor. I mean, editor-in-chief takes more time, but to be editor is in the beginning that they ask you. At that time was by chance because nobody in this area, there was no special issue on environmental, and he told me. And the first one was I think was published in 1991. I still have it with me because they said I'm unable to find anybody. But so this is sometimes is also I was lucky with this, and then other publishers, they contact you and but it's a slow process. It takes time, but then of course, if editors, there is always a need now with the big publication, big expansion of publications, mainly from China, because China has exploded. India is also, I think, going. My prediction is that India will be the next country booming in publications, because China in the last 10 years is really a bombardment. But now Indian papers are also much better. So I think with the explosion of India, many editors, many publishers, they need people on the board. That's the reason that editorial in the last 10, 20 years has really went up very quickly, and there are needs for many editors, reviewers, of course, anything. So it's it's a slow process. But if you know somebody on the board, they can invite you. You start as an editorial board member, then could be an editor, and maybe in the future you can be elected as a editor-in-chief. So that's.
So editor-in-chief is through election. It's not like.
Editor-in-chief is mainly the publisher is screening. When I got the offer, for instance, for Stotten, but Stotten is a different. Stotten, I should say, Stotten, we can treat Stotten separately, because Stotten is the largest journal at this moment in environment in Elsevier. We will hit this year 30,000 submissions, 30,000.
Yeah.
We are publishing 20%. In that case, the publisher came to me, asked me if I was interested. Usually the editors-in-chief is the Elsevier. They are doing a screening between them. And then sometimes they ask another editor-in-chief suggestions. But usually to be editor-in-chief, they want to have somebody with experience. But editor-in-chief is not only science, it's a lot of management. Conflicts. I don't know, somebody who really forgot my name in a paper, then there is a conflict with the university. It's not science. I should say 80% of the time is not science at all. It's management. So if you want to do science, it's better to be associate editor, because associate editor only get the paper, but if you are editor-in-chief, you get other things. And Stotten is a separate issue because it's the largest journal, and we are at this moment we are three editors-in-chief. So they are 3, because it's only one will be only my time. My time is already occupied a lot. They should be at least 2 or 3. Now last year we incorporated a third one. So editor-in-chief usually is like that. Of course, there are different journal sizes, you know. I mean, for instance, the new journals, like you publish the journal letters, the hazardous material letters, or these new journals, they expect to receive, to publish every year 100 papers or something like that, not more. So in Stotten, we publish 6,000 papers. So they are very different sizes of journals. If there is a new journal which is, let's say, starting, there are more chances for a young guy like you to be editor-in-chief because it's a new journal, you know. But for the very well established, like Chemosphere or Chemical Engineering Journal, there are several editors. These journals, they are always looking for somebody with a lot of experience. But of course, the experience, if you are editor of another journal or being involved on the board or special issues, is also another way to be involved. It's a step-by-step process, I should say. And it takes time, and usually the appointment is for 3 years. They can renovate, but there is also a limitation on the time, I think. Usually now they say around 10 years. In 10 years, they will need to change most of the editors. So this is and also a new point now in the last years, and it's not good for you or for me, because they prefer now, they want to have 50% females on the board and on the editorial.
Yeah.
So for males, you know, they want to have more females on the board. You will see that now in many journals there is females as associate editors. And
yeah. I have seen which journal, Environmental Pollution, or that journal has a lady as editor-in-chief, and that lady is not so, I mean, is very young, I would say.
Pollution domain editor-in-chief is in environmental pollution is Eddie Zhang, is a Chinese who was before working for us in Stotten. Stotten is a kind of masterpiece because we send that to other editors. Eddie Zhang is from China. He's one of the editors-in-chief. But the idea now is to have in hazardous materials also Diana Aga is a female from, I know her, from Buffalo. She is also one of the editors-in-chief. Still, the majority are men, but but the idea of Elsevier is to have this 50%, number. But okay, this is also good.
I mean, representation is one of the key role. But I have been observing you as an editor. How much? I think how do you manage that work? Because still now I am like 4 or 5, but reviewing. Then the editor handling or those things take a lot of time. So do you go as a regular basis, or like whenever you get a time you do that? I mean, how to be how to manage editorial responsibilities?
Well, my way of working is very simple. In the morning I wake up usually early. I start with the journal, so screening the journal and assigning papers to the editors, because the most important is assigning papers. When I see papers that there is a doubt or they will be rejected, then I assign these papers to myself. But the first thing, let's say I spend a couple of hours in the morning, early morning, to do this. And then I don't do anything else in the journal till late afternoon, So this is, and then all the papers that I am assigning to myself, usually I have a deeper look during the weekend. Usually I spend 4 days in my box, and then I look. But this is my way to proceed, because every day in Stotten, every month is 2,500 papers. You can imagine per day is more than 100. But okay, we are in the afternoon, since I have Americans. I don't look to the journal because the other 2 editors are in the US. So for me, I only look in the morning, which are the Indian, Chinese papers. All the Asian papers are in the morning. And they take care of the afternoon papers, which are European and American. So, and this is my way of usually if you are an editor-in-chief, if you are an associate editor, when I started, for instance, they told me at least you should look on the weekend. I mean, many associate editors, which they get, I don't know, maybe 6 papers per week or 1 paper per day. You can go the weekend and do every job, but then you need to spend some time on the weekend. Okay, this is the other way to do it. And I started like this, doing my job in the weekend. And now as editor-in-chief, for Stotten, I need to do this, because otherwise the journal will collapse and the authors will complain.
Now that you said that 80% of time it's about managing also, being an editor-in-chief. And I myself has lost one complaint. I know that, so I can understand that one way is that maybe keeping silent is,
Yeah.
is one of the way to tackle. But what is yours thumb rules? One or two trick to manage the conflict?
Well, manage the conflict. No, I got used, and you know, the typical conflict is this is a very common one. You know, a postdoc that was in your lab on my lab and goes abroad, and then we publish a paper without his or her name. Then the postdoc or the person says, okay, this paper was published and my name is not on it. Okay, and then I say, okay, if you, and then for me the answer is very critical. This is not my responsibility; it's the university responsibility, because the paper, when you submit a paper, is the university or the department. The logo comes from the department, so you should talk with the head of the department and talk about your conflict with them, not with me, because you know we just publish what we get. Then this is the first point. The second point, what I say, this is very standard, very common in all the journals. Then the second point that I say to him or to her, if your name needs to be added, then it's possible, but you need to have a letter from all the authors with the agreement of all the authors. If one author does not agree, your name will not be included. This happens quite often. For instance, now in a recent paper, they decided to add a new author, or it was also that can happen. So if everybody agrees, we can add a new author, and then there will be a correction.
But can you do it after publication?
Yeah, because then what we do is we have the paper published, but then this corrigendum is added after, let's say, 1 month, and then is linked. You know, when you click the publication, you see the new names, or you see the old names and the new ones. So for you, the credit for the person is, this is not a problem. If there is somebody who was missing or it was a mistake, this is a very common conflict. And usually the authors who are not in the paper, they think that Elsevier is the responsible. No, it's not Elsevier, it's the university. Because, you know, we just take, we ask the people to sign, and it's the university who sends the paper. This is a very common. This is one thing. The other thing is about reviewers. The reviewers, let's say, for instance, we got a complaint recently saying that one author, the paper is not yet accepted, but I guess it will be accepted. He said one reviewer is recommending papers which are not relevant and from his own. This is also not very common, but it happens quite often. I said, okay, you as an author, you have the right to answer the questions of the reviewer, but you have also the right not to answer. If you don't agree with this, you just tell the editor will make a decision. I mean, when you see the recommendations of the reviewers, recommendations, sometimes they are not good. I saw it. And when I see a reviewer who adds 5 papers of his own group, I delete 4 of them because this is not fair. I mean, this is not a way to increase your impact factor, you know. This is not not very many people is doing this, but some people is doing. Not only from China, India, Europe.
No. It's a common problem.
It's a common problem. Not from some. It's not one country. It's different. So I think so. The author, when you see reviewers' comments, you can answer or you can say your opinion, because you know it's not the Bible what the reviewers say. It's not just go the positive. And this is another type of comment that also is. This was coming this morning, by the way, about this conflict. So these are typical issues that come quite often into this. Plagiarism is also another thing. For instance, 2 weeks ago, an author said, "This picture is from my own paper," and he sent me the reference. Then I said, and it was not cited. No, typical. No, you said, "Okay, I look at the picture and it was not the same." You said, you can only complain, and this is a general statement, you can only complain if the picture is exactly 100%. If you make a modification of the picture, it cannot be considered a plagiarism. Only if it's 100% the same figure. And so there is nothing to, and the guy stopped to complain, because he said, this is already known for many years. It should be exactly the same picture. Otherwise.
But yeah, this is a good point. But before that, just let me change the my internet.
Okay.
Just a minute. So yeah, I mean, this is very actually new to me also. That other day I thought that I saw a post where they published that this diagram has been published in ESNT, and similar concept, but this was about removal mechanism. Somebody has the graphical abstract. There was this same concept, but different matter and all that. So whether it will come under a plagiarism or similarity or not.
The concept, no. If it's only the concept, you have no chance to complain, because they will say it should be exactly the same. Because the idea, for instance, of the person who complained, the last complaint, some of the wording was the same, but the drawing was completely different, and it was also a scheme. These schemes about pollutants, what treatment plants, these are very general. So if it was not exactly the same, some wording was the same, but you cannot legally, you cannot do anything, because they will say if it's not exactly.
Thank you so much for this one. This is a new knowledge for me also. The moving ahead, your personal journey, we will. I'm sorry that the question on the editor, your experience is so vast. I can keep on talking on that and keep on asking, and I hope you will not get tired. But I should respect your time. So then let's moving the next is that what was the biggest challenge in your career or research or academic journey so far? Or you say that what are the general challenge also from your own experience? And yeah, first we will get on that.
Well, I think when you start your career, the most important challenge is to get a budget to get a PhD and to get students and to do your work. I mean, this is probably we learned it. I learned this quite a lot when I was in the Netherlands, that it was very important to get projects and to get funding and to get in order to do your research. I think this is when you are young. This is the most important, and during many years, we are in Spain, like in everywhere, we are under a lot of pressure for funding, and it's and
so actually, I would what I would do is that I will cut I would put the segmentation in our conversation. So journal part, the advice part also, I am just want to finish it so that we don't need to talk about publications any longer. So what is your suggestion for young people is that how can they evaluate their own work and choose journal wisely to save time and energy on multiple rejections and still stay motivated? And whether the rejection, how to take a rejection?
No, I think this is a good point. I think this is important. Here, they need the supervisor to help them, because I was recently, one colleague told me, I want to send this paper to this journal. I said, okay, to Stoten. One colleague was from Emirates, from Middle East. I said, this paper is on engineering, so better you send it to an engineering journal, because Stoten has more pollutants aspect risk assessment. If it's only engineering, pure engineering, there are many good engineering journals. So it's very important to know which journal do you send your research, and either your supervisor, or you can ask one of the editors. I mean, if I am asked, I always answer the questions. For instance, if somebody asks me pure modeling, we will not take it in Stoten. You need to have experimental part, So we have several constraints, and I think it's not. They can ask the supervisor, or they can ask journal editors. In my case, I always respond. I always give an answer. If it's because there are many different journals today and good journals that your research probably fits in one of them. Of course, your supervisor can help you because they have friends, or maybe he's in editorial board of a journal, and they can help you to send you the paper to a given journal. No? But I think it's very important. This is. If your paper is rejected, please take the comments seriously and then do something. Let's say first, if the journal is a real fit for your work, this is the most important. If it's not the real fit, then they will tell you also. They will let you know. Sorry.
So I agree with this, and this is a new outlook actually. I was asking this question, and I came to know that yeah, people were advising, but it is clear advice that a supervisor should help, an experienced person should help, but we should also keep in mind that what is our content. Be honest about it. What is more important for you, an impact factor or the similarity or matching of the information? My supervisor used to say, has they published such work before? If they have published, we should submit. Many times he used to ask, if I prepare any manuscript, the first thing he will ask, what is your target journal? Because unless I don't know which journal you are targeting, I cannot evaluate this manuscript. So what is your take?
Well, Manish, yeah. Well, this is a good question. Well, good question, but has a different answer. So today we have in Elsevier so many journals competing. I mean, your work, for instance, the work that we publish together could be the journal hazardous materials. This work could be published exactly the same in Stoten, Chemosphere, environmental pollution. You know, there are journals competing for a certain market. So there, sometimes you say, what is your target? Your target can be different journals. For the reason I told you, the second paper was more treatment. Go to an engineering journal, and a very good one. So this is what, of course, this is one point. So for certain topic like pharmaceuticals in the environment, you have now many journals. So it's unbelievable. I should say the impact factor is not so important because today all these journals, they have very good one impact factor. So 7, 8, 9, hazardous material has 10 now, over 10. So, but this is, you know, it's an indication anyway. All these journals, they are in a good place. What you said about the novelty, that's of course the most important part, the novelty. And when I saw the paper of the treatment of the SARS of the virus, I said this is new. This is new. You know, there are not many papers on this topic. So novelty is the key point, and this is what do we look at the journal always on a paper submission paper. If you have a real novelty, your paper will be quickly published. That's for sure in any good journal. So that's novelty is the most important. Of course, to do a good literature survey, you need to be aware about what has been done before.
Yeah, that is also a key. I think this one you have highlighted very much. Because nowadays, what a big difference I have seen, Professor Damià, is that earlier, the reviewers were very precise about what paper you have cited. I mean, they will go through the line and see that, well, this is not in this paper. And something like that. The referencing was a tough task. But nowadays, referencing is reducing, I mean, the losing essence. Mainly the paper who has done it, people do not cite that paper, but they cite the review paper who has.
Yeah, exactly. You are right.
Now, I have done the invention. I have not got any citation, but somebody has written a review on mine. They are getting 200 citations and like that.
No, Manish, this is a good point. You know, all the journals, what they want, all the journals, all the publishers, they want that people send review papers because review papers are highly cited. What people is doing today is that they look at the one good review paper and they write the introduction, and they don't look to the original paper. And the review papers usually they increase the impact factor of any journal. Any journal, the most important is to have good review papers because the impact factor will increase. That's for sure. That's known already since many years. Yeah. But now people is lazy.
So actually, one person was, and actually several people have, and I am one of them. Several times people get very disappointed on the desk rejection. I know now I am in many, like I am associate editor as well in a journal, and in our meetings, even journal says that reject it. I want to increase desk rejections. Actually, desk rejections are becoming a reputation. So, but how to take it, how to do it?
Well, for me, the rejection should be very clear. I will give you some examples of other rejections in Stotten. For instance, this is coming also every day. One engineer who picks up phenol or a dye, organic dye, and puts in a treatment plant with a new sorbent. And it's totally artificial, in a lab. This is a rejection for Stotten because has no environmental interest. It's one compound in a lab, high concentration. This is a typical rejection article. Another one is to use what I said you before, different computing techniques like machine learning, and to do a lot of processing data from without any experimental compilation or validation. So this is also a rejection. So for me, this rejection should be very clear topics which do not fit into the journal and which are not, of course, topics which I have seen for 20 years. I mean, now this is nothing new, but we should be careful. Yeah, sometimes those rejections can be not well done, and I know that some editors who rejected, some associate editors who just rejected. Then after that, the editor-in-chief can always change this. And some people did complain. If you feel, for instance, an author feels that it's not fair, they can write to the editor-in-chief, and the editor-in-chief may reassign the paper to another editor and can send to reviewers. That's in Stotten. This is what we do. If you feel that, because then the editor-in-chief will have a careful look to the paper. That's
actually I had. Yeah. Please continue.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
So actually, I had one very nice experience with chemical engineering. My first paper was, we submitted. I am very choosy about this, that unless until I feel that I cannot make it, I do not submit it, because I do. This is all about being efficient. And nowadays, I feel that publishing which journal is not important at all, because now we use keywords. And keywords reflect paper from several journals. It's not like now people do not go and select the science of total environment, then search. Yes, certain journals brings more credibility to work. That is there. So impact factor and those things increases the reputation and credibility. But citations wise, it is not so important nowadays. So this one I said because that I am very selective about where I am submitting and what I am submitting. So I submitted to Chemical Engineering Journal. And at that time, there was no Professor Damià who motivated me to do that. I felt this can go, because I was working, this was a paper about a review of beta actinoplastic. And it was very new topic, and just I published in 2020. So it went to the journal, the editor sent for the review. So for some journal, if it goes to review, that is including Science of Total Environment, we feel like half war on. Now it's only the half battle is remaining. So when it went to review, we were like, okay, now we can keep the finger crossed. Then we got after a month that the rejection. And then we saw that the one referee just right that this work is not suitable for Chemical Engineering Journal, and just rejected. Another reviewer has given major revision, and he has written a very lengthy those things. And then editor rejected that we are very competitive. A lot of the manuscripts are coming, and because one referee has outright rejected, please, so we are rejecting him. I wrote back within 30 minutes that it means we are taking on that guy, one guy. It means, look at this, that we are three authors who felt it can go to Chemical Engineering. You are the editor-in-chief who felt it can go to review. The another people who associate editor who is handling thought that it can go to. A referee also thinks it can be revised and it is suitable for this one. So at least suitability part is well clear. It's no more any in doubt. So the one person against 6 person, if they say that this is not suitable for this journal, I doubt whether I want to know whether I should believe you or that person.
Well, Manish, this is a very good point. I will tell you what I am doing. This will not happen in Stotten, at least with me.
Yeah.
First, I only reject papers with 2 reviewers recommending rejections, 2 reviewers. But I also have, I should say, first-class reviewers and second-class reviewers. I have reviewers I consider, yeah, because some reviewers, you know, I can trust them. Only if there are 2 rejections, I reject. In this case, if it's only 1 rejection, what I do is to send again the paper for revision. And then what I will do is invite in the second revision additional reviewers. You understand? So you will get, if a second reviewer after that recommends rejection, and I trust what they are saying, of course, I believe what they are saying, then I will reject, but not with 1 rejection. My recommendation, not only in Stotten, other journals, they do recommend this, but I know in Stotten that some associate editors, they reject papers with 1 rejection.
Yeah.
But if the author complains and comes to me, I say, this is not possible, this paper should go to another reviewer, because we said in meetings that they should be at least 2 good reviewers, not just, you know, 2 lines saying this is not but at least we say 2 reviewers. I probably in that case the editor said, you know, just make it easy.
He asked me, he told you have to wait another 21 days. I said no problem, and it went, and then it came, and it is now published. So then this happened, but
we need to be very careful, because some editors, you are right, the same happens I saw it in Stotten, that with only 1 reviewer, they reject. Also, it happened to me with some colleagues sending papers to other journals. Sometimes the editor with only 1 reviewer. Then at this point, I think some editors, they think there are also personal conflicts. They don't tell you, but maybe there is, you know, we don't want this guy in the journal. But you can guess, but it's not fair, it's not professional. We should be professionals. I mean, even if I don't like a person, if only one reviewer says rejection, you should not reject the paper. You need to be professional. You know, it's not
actually
fair.
And when I write rejection, it is more painful. Then I have to write so much, but otherwise, so rejection is a very painful thing, and I have to justify it. Unless until I do not find a critical things highlighting, I cannot reject. For rejecting, and that's what you are right, that 2-line rejections is not, whoever you are, you may be Nobel laureate, but that is not the way you can reject a work. It is not suitable. If it is not suitable, editor would have not sent for review. That's all.
Yeah. One reviewer is not enough. One reviewer is never enough. Never.
So thank you for letting me know this one. I would also try to adopt this technique.
I think most of some journals, I think process safety, some journals in Elsevier, they recommended from the publisher. But in Stotten, I said several times, but it was not in our rules. I talked with the editors, saying, but I think some of them they forgot or they do not agree. I don't know, because not everybody is on the same page, you know. But I think it's the best way to keep, because at the end we rely on the reviewers and on the authors. Because if you are an author today, tomorrow you will be a reviewer. You know, I always do the same thing. I send the papers for review to authors. So if you keep a bad impression to the people, to the customers, at the end the people will not submit papers to the journal. It's like that. There are so many competitors in the market that at the end, yes.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, this is a very interesting world of publications, and I mean, people can learn while doing it. And I am really so much happy to see your enthusiasm. You said that your father died 2 years ago. It means he must be.
My father, a few years ago. In '94 already. He died at 7. No, he died already 20 years ago. No, quite.
Oh, I thought few years ago. So I was very happy for him that, okay, he must be 90 plus.
94.
94 years he lived? 1994. Okay. So now we close this, the publication part, although this is very much, the important and like that. You have answered everything, so thank you so much. I would just go with now the philosophy part. Like, what is your daily work motivation?
My daily work motivation for do what? For do my work?
For leading life, for having, because I see that you have a lot of zeal, because you are series editor for some journal, editor-in-chief of several journals, associate editors. And sometimes I felt that, oh, why he needs to become even editorial board member, but or AEs, but you are, it means there is an energy, there is an spark. So how to keep that energy level, how to remain motivated?
Well, I like my job, so I think it's important for new journals because they know me. They ask me for help. Okay, I said fine. I will help you. So I think it's important if you like your job. For me, it's not too much work. I mean, I had an old friend from the UK who died also a few years ago. He said to me, if you want to do something, if you want something to be done, give it to a busy person. Because if you are doing 10 things, if you are asked to do another one, it's just 10%. If you do only one thing and you are asked to do a second one, it's 50%. So you understand. So when you do so many things to do an extra one, okay, you say it takes me some time, but you are used. So I think it's good for the network. You know, it's a kind of network. And anyway, I'm not teaching, so I have few students now. I had already 67 PhD students, by the way. So almost in my life, in my career. So, and I have plenty of time to help with this.
Yeah, I have seen this line, and I was yeah, 60 research projects you had, and there are several 35 PhD supervised in last 10 years. So then
67 in total, 67.
Total 67. Oh my God.
From the 90s till this year, yeah.
Yeah, and you know that you have enrolled your PhD before my birth. So, yeah. And because you talked about research network, let me get the question of the network part now. Is that how to keep a good research network, and is it necessary?
No, I think it's necessary in our field. This is the advantage of scientists because we are not politicians, you know. One of my jobs is also I'm director of the Water Institute, and I need to deal with politicians. You know, these people is totally different. But I mean, the science has no borders, and I think problems of antibiotic resistance in Spain are the same like in India or in China. So I think the networking in our field is possible and is needed. I think, and we can do this because the problems are very similar. It's just and I think people likes to have this. Likes to invite you to have meetings, to have discussions. Okay, and I think
so that is good. But the tricky part is when marriage happens. I mean, when network builds, how to keep it going, how to keep it everybody satisfied, how to keep everybody's ego satisfied and intact. So that I wanted to know.
Yeah. Well, that's like managing a research group. You know that the ego is probably the most difficult part in science, like in many other areas. Everybody wants to study certain chemicals. For instance, in my group, now they are working separately, but at certain moment I had one person working with personal care products, the other one with antibiotics, the other one with anti-inflammatories, but I said at the end, sometimes I said, you need to have a picture of everything. I mean, in the water, there is everything. So you need to collaborate between yourself, not just to split the work, in separate. The problem with the ego is that you can be, of course, your work should be, if you are a microbiologist, your work is important, you will do microbiology. But if you want to correlate this with the chemistry, you need to collaborate with the chemistry. This is what we do in the Catalan Water Institute. From the beginning, when I started in 2008, we said to the young people, we will not accept projects with only one chemist. We should have projects with chemists, microbiologists, chemist engineers. There should be at least 2 different disciplines in any project. And I think this is the responsibility of the top guys in the institutes to say that, because otherwise we will create separate entities, and it's not good for research. It's not good. It's very bad. I mean, when you, for instance, if you write a very important paper, I don't know, for Science or Nature, one of these top journals, okay, if it's a microbiology paper, of course the microbiologist will take the lead. But if there are many people involved, then your site people will be co-author. So I think it's difficult. This is probably the most difficult part, how to keep the individual person or the personality. But It's also important, the collaboration, in order to tackle a problem. Otherwise, you will see only one part. The environment is very complex, and you need all the disciplines. You need hydrologists, you need ecologists, you need everybody. Otherwise, you will not see the vision. You will not have the vision of the problem.
Yeah, I mean, for me is what I have seen is that a good research network produces another network. I mean, if I have one Japanese collaborator and our joint project has produced a lot of results, it is being noticed by other Japanese people or other the Sri Lankan people or so and so forth, and then it grows. So research network is one time it was said that, you know, we are living in a peer reviewing system world. So and that's where research network can help a lot. Now I would just come to the portion is like, because as an administrator, what is your advice and what are the challenges of an administrator? What are the challenges of daily life challenges of an administrator? And at that time, when you reply, you can also put a light, shed a light on how to deal as an administrator and how to deal administration as a general person. Yeah.
Well, I think administration in my country, I think everywhere is the same or similar, is the personal problem. Is I don't know, the doorkeeper or problems which are not related at all with science. Somebody who first thing is everybody wants to get more salary. That's the first thing. I mean, almost everybody wants to be better paid, but you know, the budget is the budget, and sometimes we can increase or we cannot increase. So daily work in administration is a lot of personal problems. I mean, personal, individual, so people who are not happy or people who wants to get more salary. And then, of course, the other issue is the budget, because we are depending on the budget from the government. That the budget now is good, but we had some years which was not so good. So also fighting every year with the budget discussions, and in addition, you have the research facilities and the research groups to manage. So it's a lot of things together. Of course, I have a team of people working with me, and I am the director, but many daily things are solved by my colleagues. But of course, when something is not solved, it goes, I need to do it. You know, this is the thing. And then, of course, I need to talk with the politicians, which is not very good. I don't like it, but somebody needs to do it. Because they'll tell you blue, and it's not blue, it's yellow. You know, it's something like that. But anyway, it's another job. I mean, it's a job for somebody who is at the end of the career. I mean, I am over 60, so it's fine. I was appointed in 2008 when I was mid-50s. So, but if you are young, they will kill you. If you are a young researcher, in your case, they will kill you. The administration is not good for a young person. You need to know, you know, it's a lot of things which are not really research at all. It's management, so it's pure management. Yeah.
Yeah, this is very nice advice. Actually, so you say that even if it is administration part, a young or middle career should avoid it.
I should say, yeah. I think so, yeah. If you want to do research, I accepted when I was over 50, but before, if you are, say, the youngest, I mean, okay, it depends. If you don't like research, but if you like research, if you are successful in research, just continue. The problem with administration is that sometimes people go to the administrations because they are not successful in research. You know, people who are not successful, they prefer administration because they think they are the bosses. You know, I am not interested to be the boss. You know, I'm already my own boss. So I think it's important, if you are a good scientist or if you like science, to go at the end of your career, not in the early stages, because it will kill you. Too many things. You know, too many things. This is my advice, but anyway.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's you know, that this has been just my second day. I interviewed two guys over the weekend, and it's been a learning. I mean, just interviewing is a learning. I feel like every day I read a new book. And today's book name is Damià, Barceló.
Okay. This is my own experience, you know, it's okay.
I mean,
the second thing also when being an administrator is because, you know, I need to handle many things which are, you know, for instance, with the press, the news. you need to be very careful. If you are young, you can make a lot of mistakes. And then if you make a mistake in the press, on Twitter, Twitter bitter, Twitter bitter. Twitter can be very bitter as well. So you need to be very careful. If you are getting older, you will measure your wording. It will be different, you will make a compromise. So experience is a degree in that case. Yeah, of course.
So I mean, we should not be eyeing the visibility or the renownedness through Twitter or through social media, but our papers will reach to the people and they will notice us.
No, Twitter is important. I say, no, Twitter is important. Of course, no, Twitter, the social media today, everybody is using. Elsevier is using to communicate new papers, to communicate anything. What you did also, I mean, it's very important, the communication. I say that when you are in the management, in the management of an institute, news from the institute, what kind of news. For instance, our institute is from the government. If there is, I give you an example. If there is a problem, it was a problem last week in a water canal that was a dumping of oil, oil from hydrocarbons. So okay, we knew what happened, but then they will come somebody asking you what is the problem. You cannot talk. I cannot I cannot say anything before asking the government, because if I say something, they will kill me. Basically, I'm talking about this type of news, not scientific. Scientific news is not a problem. I always encourage my students, my coworkers. What you do is very encouraging, and I like what you do. I always say to my people, if you publish a good paper, please make publicity, send it to Twitter. But they are not doing this. I think it's important. Scientific work, as soon as it's published, you can go everywhere. But I'm talking about news coming from the government. We had information which is not really, let's say, we cannot talk about certain things because unless we get the permission from the government, because we work for the water department. And if there is a problem with a certain contamination, I will not say anything if they not tell me you can talk about this way.
So,
basically, I'm talking about this type of news, not about this.
Actually, recently there was a paper in the there was my work where we reported SARS-CoV in river, and that has been taken up by media like anything. I was hiding that maybe government will kill me. That this is one has wrote virus found swimming in the river.
No, it happened to me also. The first time that we published cocaine in the river, that was in 2008. They called me from all the government saying, "What is this?" I said, "No, there is cocaine. I mean, you can." And then after that, they and we can measure and we can do all this. That was in the beginning of 2000. So it was something very new, no? But anyway, if it's published, I'm not afraid. If something has been published in a good journal, don't worry. It's there. I said, you can read it. If you don't like it, you can write another paper. This is what my boss said in the Netherlands. If somebody thinks that your work is not relevant, they can write another paper against you. This is science, This is what is science.
Recently, somebody called me after a publication and said, I have found a lot of the over assumptions and like that. I told, this is a good chance. You can write a paper on my paper.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So he could have write a paper on my paper, but he wrote and then I had to reply. So I also had a paper, one more paper on my paper.
Yeah.
So discussions are good.
Yeah. Discussions are positive. I think this is about science, It's always this is the progress of science, I think.
So this is a very interesting part of things, and you have, I mean, new thing has come out about the administration. I can tell you that this was, I didn't know. I had the different take. I was thinking that one should become administrator as quick as possible. But yeah, you cannot keep, my father used to say that, look, you cannot love two at the same time equally.
Yeah. The same thing, same thing,
Now, because you have been doing all these stuff, but as a part of the administrator and also a PhD lab and 67 PhD output was very special. So how do you select a CV? When do you think that, oh, this person is I should respond to? Or what do you look into a person and before saying yes for the PhD position or faculty position or otherwise?
Manish, I can say to you overall, when I look at all my PhD students, that it was a kind of lottery. I knew that some of them would be there, because when you make the first interview a young person, you look at the CV. Sometimes the CV may be good or less good or bad or medium or high, but then it depends on the lab. You don't know the lab. Many of them, they had no lab experience. So I think I should say it's a kind of lottery, I should say. But okay, you can go to the marks if there are good marks. But I was lucky in many cases, but I was also not lucky with other ones, which some very bad students at the end, they did not finish the PhD. So it's very difficult. I think this is when a young person comes to your lab, or you need somebody for a project, and then you receive the applications, and then you make a selection on the basis they send the CV, and then we make an interview, a short interview, maybe 20 minutes, and then we'll see. But you know, it's in a way it's a lottery. It should say it's a lottery, because you know 4 years. Unless you know the person from one of your. Of course, if you have the recommendation of one of your colleagues, is different, and that's different.
Yeah. I mean, colleague-based recommendation is somehow works, because I know that I am very afraid of not recommending somebody whom I know. Yeah, I can write a good recommendation for all my students to some institute when I am not answerable too much. But if it is within my research network, I would want to make sure whether, because I have some idea what that person might be expecting and what this person has to offer. So the recommendation-based selection may be the very nice idea. Having said that, I can tell you that it is your experience that reflected in your answer, that you said that at the end of the day, it is lottery. Actually,
it's lottery, I think. Most of the cases is lottery.
Yeah. So I mean, as soon as you said to me, I felt, it is right. It is right. Because in a 20 minutes interview, how to know that and CV can backfire you. Many times a very splendid CV can give you very extraordinary headache. Okay, nice. Now, the advice part, I want to also finish is that with this question: what is your advice to someone yet to decide if he or she should be doing PhD? Persons about to complete their PhD. I mean, because the transition stage, although you didn't have that kind of transition, you had a job in your hand, but you also mentioned that those people who comes for money to do PhD, I don't like that. But the PhD people see both both in what to do situation in before starting PhD and also after PhD, finishing PhD. How to handle these two uncertainties or these two what to do situations?
Well, when you start the PhD, it's important, of course, the first month to have a support and maybe talk more often with the PhD student, to have facilities, to see that the student feels comfortable at the lab, you know, and I think the first paper is very important, to write the first paper and to how to do it, because it's the most difficult one, and probably the supervisor will need to do a lot of things. I mean, it will be mainly the job of the supervisor. After that, I think it's more the student. But I think the first paper is very critical, and the first period in the lab. When you finish your PhD, of course, if you want to do academic career, it's important to do a postdoc, to look for another place outside the country. I think this is the main thing. The last years of your PhD, you should start to look for possibilities. There are plenty in Europe nowadays. So I think if you want to do an academic career, if you feel that you want to go, because I had some PhD students that they wanted to go to industry, then you go to the industry. But anyway, I think the last year before ending your PhD, we should start looking for a postdoc abroad. Because if you want to do scientific career in Europe, in Spain, I think everywhere, you need to spend at least 2 years abroad now in a foreign lab. So I think this is important. And then, if possible, also when you go abroad, to change a little bit your subject, not to do exactly the same thing. Okay, to do something else, not because this will be an extra point for you for your career. Let's say to learn a new technique, to learn to increase your capabilities in other instrumentation.
Actually, this is I want to highlight this answer because the doing different thing is very much important. Actually, my first postdoc was in Korea, and where I did arsenic contamination in the groundwater, but which has completely different than my PhD. And many journals, many funding agency, they specifically say, if it is extension of your PhD, we will not support that project. So it is very much important to learn new things, do new things. It is not that PhD you have done, that doesn't mean that topic also you were not have done before. So that is very much important. One should know that, and they have to go out of comfort zone. If I love chemistry, I can, my analyte can change, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But one time I changed from water to sediment, and it was very painful. So because water is a like analytical solution, you just dip the electrode or dip the those things. Sometimes digestion needed, but soil and sediments need a lot of pre-processing before something some aliquot can be generated. So just on the lighter note.
What have you been in Korea? In which part of Korea have you been? I've been in Korea.
I was in Korea. I was in Kunsan National University. And Korea is very small, and from Seoul it is 3 hours car drive. And it was my first, I said to you that this postdoc is very equal to honeymoon. And so I really remember the food and my first, like, okay, I have a good salary now, and I am no more a student. So those feelings are very, very special.
Yeah. No, it's a good country, Korea. Yeah.
Yeah, food. I mean, still I become hungry if I think about that. The food. Okay. Now, we will go about being human. I mean, we will know your personal choices and like that. So before that, I was just going through that how to. Of course, you have already told. You have already told that there should be. One should do postdoc. You already have given all of your the opinions scattered on all parts of your advices. But just last one, what is your advice on teaching? That how to manage a class, how to manage a lab, or but mostly in the teaching part.
Teaching, but teaching at which level? Because I think there are different levels. If
So we will be very nice to know your advice at several levels.
The easiest one is, of course, the PhD students, advanced courses, master. This is the easiest one because these people they want to do a PhD. There is not a problem at all. It's like discussing a topic and discussing like giving a talk or talking like we are doing, you know. I think that the easiest one for me and for almost everybody is the master level or the advanced course level. No? This is the easy one. The most complicated one, of course, is the undergraduate. I mean, first course student or second course. At the beginning, when they started the university, for me was sometimes you could have very good students and very bad ones as well. And then there you need to be very careful. What are you saying? Basic rules, you know, and also sometimes keeping the discipline. I had rooms with 70, 80 students. I mean, in Spain, it's not like in China. In China, everybody listens, but in Spain, not necessary. You know, people is more Mediterranean blood, and so not very much on what kind of a student. I saw in China that you have everybody is quiet, but in Spain, not. So at the beginning, and the early beginning students or the students of the first course students, this you need to be more patient and you need to explain basic things. And everybody's coming with a different knowledge. maybe you will need to explain, I don't know, the formula of water, very simple things, because not everybody is coming from the same background. And that's a problem for the first year student. There are people very well, that they have good knowledge, and other ones they don't know anything.
Yeah, so diversity is too much.
Diversity, yeah. And even some of them, they will not continue as a chemist. They will not finish. So I think is the first year is, for me, it's complex. It's not easy because you know, it's only a very few people will continue and they are interested on the topic. And every day can be different. You know, it can be like a lottery also.
Actually, what I can say is that the truthness in your, I mean, everything that you speak says that you did face those students, you did face those challenges, and that's why this extract is coming out, the concentrated extract.
Also, the last year when they are finishing the degree, the last year students, like before master, they are also very good, because usually these people, they want to continue with the job. The problem is the beginners, but at the end of the studies, like the master or PhDs, they are usually, there's no problem, because they are motivated people and they want to learn.
So now with this, we finish the part 2 also. And now this is the part C, which will be very quicker, because this is about knowing you and like that. I would start. One of the question is that, which was actually, I mentioned you the question I sent to you in part A, but what and who has influenced you the most in your life?
Well, for you mean for the chemistry, for everything, or for what?
Both. You can say in your life, in your the professional life. So this is open in that question.
No, I was lucky with my family. I was lucky at the, I should say, university also, and my postdoc. I was also doing very, very well. And then also I got a good job in Spain at the National Institute. And then I cannot complain about my personal and scientific career. Also, when I got married.
My question was that who and what has the most influence on you? Like for me, it's my father. He has been like still. He calls me and he suggests me on the paper. He asked me. I remember the first journal paper I call him from Japan, that I got my journal paper accepted. He asked me, "How much money will you get?" I said, no, I will not get anything. But I am afraid if nowadays I will say that my paper has been accepted and I have to pay 200,000 Indian rupees.
Open access, you need to pay. Yeah.
So he will be like opposite. You published and you have to pay. Okay. So similarly, and after that, maybe my PhD supervisor has a lot influence on me. So this is what about that in your life?
I will tell you also before. My father, of course, in the high school with the training before the university, he influenced me a lot. And also after that, to continue with my PhD and also going abroad, going to the Netherlands. So he was always very enthusiastic, and in fact he was, because at the beginning, for instance, I was learning at the school French, but my father was speaking English already. He told me, you need to go for English because you need the future as well. So I was learning English and German. So I think he was a teacher. He was a mentality teacher, and for him was very important. Then probably at the university was okay, but I think the postdoc with Roland Frey in Amsterdam, he was really a very influential person for me, because in fact I did not tell you before, but when I was living in Amsterdam, he had a big house and he rented to me an apartment on the floor. So I saw him quite often. We had sometimes lunch or dinner, but dinner or breakfast together. So, and he was as a person and as a scientist, he influenced me a lot. For the reason I think always it's not only important to be a good scientist, you need to be a good person. One of my friends told me when he retired recently from from the administration. He was working in the water sector. He said to me, the most important thing in life is not to be a good scientist or a good chemist, is to be a good person. I think this is, and he was really he was a real influential person for me. I should say probably these are the most important. And after that, it was easier for me. There are many things.
Yeah, and I can understand the influence of a wife on husband, but I will not go into that.
No,
so not ask.
My wife also supports me completely. Although she's a lawyer, but she supports me all the time. Her father was a medical doctor, but she understands and she always supports me all the time. Of course, if you do this type of work that needs a lot of time, takes a lot of time. If your family is not in favor, it's a problem. Huh? It's maybe a problem. Of course, sometimes I need to go for shopping with her. Like this Saturday, we were for shopping because he wanted to do some shopping. You know, wives, they like shopping, and
yeah. That is why it is called. That is why it is called work shop. Husband work and wife shop.
Yeah.
So, from here, the next question is that what excites you about your work? Travel, meeting people, meeting new generation people, or becoming a very searchable guy or well-known name, fame. So, what excites you most about your profession?
No, the exciting me more is to new papers, to find new research. I mean, for instance, with the COVID, what we did with you as an example, I think this is exciting. When you asked me, I said this is an important. I want to learn more. Of course, with the pandemic, we went to another world that now is interesting for me. For instance, from the point of view now of I'm more chemist, it's very important the proteins, the viral proteins. How can we detect these proteins by mass spectrometry? I was reading this before I call you, before we talked this morning. I was reading about these viral proteins because I think you can always learn from problems. You know, we are learning how to tackle a problem, and this is what I like. I mean, to learn new things, anything which, of course, fits into my research lines, general broad research lines. But I think, and this is what the main motivation, not to continue to do all my life. I started with pesticides. I'm still doing some pesticide pharmaceuticals. We need to change and we need to find new problems because there are many new problems. Microplastics.
No, so but I mean that is of course I understand this is the research part, and in the research what excites you. But how about the travel part of it, and how about teaching part of it? So do you enjoy travel?
I enjoy travel. Well, now I did not travel at all. But I did travel. I am traveling a lot. I am more selective with traveling, but I did travel. Usually, I go to a couple of big conferences. I like big conferences like the ACS in the US or the American ones or some of the big ones, which you can meet a lot of people. You can do a lot of networking. You see a lot of topics in the same time. Let's say conferences with 5,000 people. Yeah. And then also to China, because I saw in China, I learned a lot about the Chinese world, about how they work the universities, how is the system, which is totally different, as you said before, from the American and other ones. So I like to learn this, yeah. So usually when I usually travel a lot during my life, during my before
so
COVID.
I mean, Professor, I was thinking that when you are big, then many people know you, and then they try to have your few seconds or few minutes, and then to build a network or to show his or her face that okay. But when you are young, how to approach or how to grow a network during these 2-3 days of a conference? How to approach a person who is really a big shot? I mean, can you give me about that some essence? Because I myself has found struggling that many times struggling to approach a person, even if I know him or her. So what is your suggestion on that?
I think you should not be shy, Manish. You should just go and talk with the guy. I mean, I remember once I talked with the Nobel Prize 2 times. I talked with the Nobel Prize who died, Mario Molina, in the US in a meeting, and because he's from Mexico and he was the Nobel Prize of the air pollution related with the air. I went to him. I introduced myself, and I just talked with him. Don't be ashamed. I mean, I told you I did the same with a couple of Nobel prizes. So I think if you feel that that you have something to discuss with him or one of his papers or something, just approach. I don't think there will be a problem for many people. In my case, I never had. If somebody comes to me, I usually answer. You know, it's not. Of course, if you give a good. The other thing will be when you give a presentation that somebody is interested in your work. That's another way to make connections. Also, in this big poster, sometimes people think that poster presentations are not good, but I like in America, in US, because these big conferences, they have very large poster exhibitions, and people spend quite a lot of time in the poster section. So there are many different ways, but don't be ashamed or don't stop yourself to ask anybody that you consider is important, because usually they will answer to you and they will contact you. I don't think it's
so, but what is the good way to approach a person? I mean, can we say that, okay, we should go and talk about his paper or her paper, or should we, I mean, if you have any trick or any suggestions, so as per se.
The best way will be to approach him or her about one of the recent papers. I don't know if he or she has published a paper on SARS, for instance. What are the levels? What are the new if there is any new protein that to be investigated? I don't know. You know, looking to one of the last papers of the person that you want to interview or do you want to talk with. So I think that will be the best way to interact, you know? Because then he or she will understand that you read his or her work. You are aware about the topic.
Yeah, so that is a good ice-breaking point. And so we should...
The other thing that you can do, of course, is to give him or her one of your best papers, saying, can you, related to his or her work, give a copy of a reprint. That will be another way. Can you read this? What is your opinion about this paper? You can also, that could be also another way to do it.
And hard copy can work.
So yeah, just give it to a copy of the paper, to a reprint, a preprint.
So preprint is a bit costly. So can we give just a photocopy?
Yeah, photocopy. I mean, yeah, a copy, just a printed copy. Okay, yeah. No, I mean a printed.
Yeah. So actually, this is related to, like, many journal ask us that order preprint and something like that. So should we? That can become handy here. What do you do when you are not working?
What I am doing? Well, I do.
You are not working means you are also not evaluating journal paper.
Okay, no, I do other activities. I mean, I go to the gym, for instance. I have now, with the pandemic, I usually go, but now I even more strict. I go at least 4 days with a trainer because I want to be in a good shape. Now we don't go too much to the movies because of the pandemic, but we used to go museums. We like a lot museums and art, and otherwise we watch TV.
In Spain, there is a good, I mean, the movies and those things. Recently, there are a lot of remake happened from a Spanish movie. And we have some Netflix, a lot of web series.
So you are India too. You have Bollywood in India. You have Bollywood. No, in India, very famous also in Netflix.
So what is? I mean, that was our next question. So it is in the conversation that what is your favorite actor or movie?
Actor. I like actors and movie actor. Yeah, many. Well, for instance, Clint Eastwood is a very old one, but Tom Hanks. I like these actors. They play very well for me.
Yeah, so Tom Hanks is. I mean, the imaging is still. And your favorite movie? Not Forrest Gump?
No, man. No, I had many movies. I don't remember now. It's movies. My favorite movie. Well, I can tell you one, a classic one, Casablanca, which is country boat. This is very old one. This is one of my favorites. But Clint Eastwood movies, for instance, I like many of the last period of the Clint Eastwood. I like some of the quite few of them.
Yeah. His movies are and they, especially when he himself act. Then those movies as
exactly himself, and the Tom Hanks, the Bridge of the Spies. those excellent movie. You remember the one in Germany from Tom Hanks is working for the bridge, the famous bridge. I think the Spy Bridge. I don't know the title of the movie. It's about Berlin. He goes there when Berlin was separated in two parts. It's a very good movie.
Okay.
But I think many movies. We watch quite often movies.
Yeah, it has recently. I have seen in some OTT platforms, maybe Hotstar or Amazon. So coming to that, I like that this because movies are really my like yesterday I was watching Tomorrow's War. That have you already watched?
No, I did not see it. No, I did not watch.
So that is also a science. That is also a scientific fiction, and it was, I mean, good. That scientist saves the world. It's not like you have to wear makeup per man or something. One guy says that instead of sending Superman, they have sent us to the fight. It is not good. So, and what about your favorite food?
Food. I like many different types of foods, including Indian food. I like Indian food as well. So, but food in Spain we have very good food. But I am adapted to any food because I was traveling quite often. So I like fish, meat, spicy. I can eat. I remember when I was my first time in Singapore. I went to. They told me I was told it was one of the best Indian restaurants in the area. I remember I had very good.
Singapore has a lot of.
When I was in Amsterdam, also, my favorite restaurant was from India because in the Netherlands the food is not very good, but the Indian restaurant was very good. So
but for Indian people it is not so interesting because we eat daily.
I know.
So in Japan, my wife used to say that let's go to the Indian restaurant. I said, let's go to any restaurant except there because every day I eat your.
In one of my last trips, I was in New Zealand and I have an Indian friend there. Maybe you know him, Ajit Sarma. He's from the Assam region, Assam. With the tea.
Yeah, Assam.
I said, we'll go to a restaurant. He said, no, I will bring you to the best Indian restaurant in Auckland. So we went to an Indian restaurant. But Indian restaurants everywhere, So
yeah, everywhere. So it comes to me, brings to me is cuisine. What is your cuisine? I mean, the Indian cuisine, Chinese cuisine, Mediterranean. Sometimes recently, so there are a lot of. So any such cuisine you like that is?
I don't have a specific. I can eat. Raw fish or cooked fish. Fish I like a lot, but meat as well. You tell me which one is. I like variety also, so not always the same thing.
So it makes sense. And so what about your favorite possession? I mean, anything, maybe camera or your mobile.
When I was younger, I was doing many photography. I had a very good camera, Nikon. Now I like paintings. I have several good paintings. Yeah, I am a collector of paintings, so
wow.
I have some good paintings. Yeah, from local painters.
Have you heard of Madhubani painting?
No.
Madhubani painting is this is my hometown, and it is very famous for a painting. So I don't have here, but I will send you one gift by post.
In a picture. Good.
I will send you first picture today. That this is called Madhubani painting, and you can search. There is a lot of, and then I will send you a parcel. So this is we are done with possession. Favorite book.
Favorite book. Well, books I had many reading books. I am usually. I don't have a very favorite one, but I read many books. If you give me a title of a book, I read recently. I have read a lot of history books in the last years. So about history in general, Second World War.
That is.
I like more recently. I like more the history or historical books more than novels. But this is what I like.
I mean, it makes sense. I know that I have watched several series of World War I, World War II. And I don't know, but it seems like it binds me as my when I was not alive, you know. And but that is the place from where I am there, and that helps me to cope up the pressure of today, because that time many people died for nothing, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So even if there is a horrible time these days, I feel like, oh God, at least I was not born that time. Maybe as a Hindu, I might have born there, again reborn. But yeah, so that is the point. Tell me, what do you? I mean, how do you handle pressure? I mean, this is related to your hobby also. That when you have like something is not going your way, decisions are not coming on your way. When you become angry, what you do?
What I do, I think about something else, and I wait. You know, I leave this. I don't solve not everything can be solved at the same time. This is my philosophy. And if something doesn't work today, maybe you try tomorrow. You know, this is my idea. So I know that not the world is not perfect. If something cannot be solved, then I leave it a couple of days and then try it again. This is I am quite optimistic that things can be solved, but sometimes you don't have the mood, or you are not prepared to do this. So this is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, it is very nice. I mean, do you keep a grudge? I mean, do you become angry with some person?
No. If somebody, you know, my philosophy is a bit different. If I don't like somebody, I prefer not to think about him, not to get angry, because it's bad for me. So I just forget about him. If I never, when this I will tell you what I'm doing. What somebody asks me information about one of my students, if it's a very good student or not. Usually what I do is, if it's a very good student, I write a very good report. If it's a very bad student, I will not write anything bad. I will just say a few lines. He was doing, this is my philosophy. So never never think about somebody who really was not really behaving correctly, but I will not put it on paper that he was a bad guy, no? I will just say nothing, that, okay, he was working in my lab during these years, doing this job, full stop. You understand? So I prefer not to be negative and keep it just unforget about him or her. This is my, and this is a philosophy for living, I think, because just forget about bad things, basically, and bad experiences.
Yeah.
Not
this is.
If we start to fight about somebody, you know, jealousy. I mean, people who really was putting you in trouble. What do you? We don't do anything. At the end of the day, this is we will not go anywhere. So it's better to forget about them. So this is what
Wow, this is also a new technique. Today, I am really learning few things that I would like to keep in my armor. I was like I had a philosophy that if somebody hurts me and I cannot damage him equally, so then I can pat him. Wow, this is good. You should behave like this, so that he behaves. He continues to do that mistake. So. But this is good that we can forget. That is the best thing, if we can. And how about balancing family life and professional ambitions?
No, usually with my wife, we have a good wife. We don't have children, by the way. We don't have children because we married quite late. But with my wife, we go along very well. So it's we go for dinner. We will go now for lunch today, later, and, to a restaurant. So we can, family is not a problem.
Send me the, do you have WhatsApp? From your mobile, you can write my WhatsApp, hi. Can you give me your number? Anyway, you can text me. You can. But
I will give you the number by the email.
Yeah. Okay. So you send me that picture, because that day you went to dinner. That picture I will put in the in our video.
Okay.
So then coming to this, because this section name is being human. So can you list your 3 major strengths and something that you are not good at?
Measure strength. Well, I mean, I think I am working a lot, so it's this is probably never stop. Like my mother is still alive. She's 96, and she has a lot of power still. She is walking every day, so I think this is the most. to be always very follow the rules and to continue working. I think this is one. The other thing is that try to solve the problems. I mean, not to be. In fact, is related to this, no? In a way, not to be disappointed, or try to always to fight against everything in order to achieve a certain what do you think is important. I think these are important. Of course, I also believe a lot in the family, in my wife and my mother. I have a sister and all the friends that I have. I think this is also important to have a good family, good environment, in order that you can keep them. I mean, for instance, on Saturday we went shopping with my cousins and my wife, and so I think it's important to have also good friendship and to keep this and talk about normal things, daily life. No, let's say. I think these are the and my weakness. You said my weakness. I need to tell you about.
I mean, something that you are not good at. Yeah, I would not tell you the weakness, but something that you are not good at.
Well, I'm not good. Well, in general in life, or you mean in?
Yeah, generally in life. Generally in life. No. This is about life. We are done with the profession. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I'm not good. Well, I'm not good in many things, but let's say, or something that I don't like, or that. What is my strength, weakness? Well, for instance, I drive, but I don't like to drive too much. So if I need to drive a lot, I'm getting tired. I don't know if this is already an answer, but sometimes maybe I need to be more communicative. With some people, I need to talk more. That's also sometimes I avoid if I don't like somebody sometimes, or I don't like if this person did not really behave correctly with me, I don't talk with him or her too much. Probably I should change this behavior. I don't.
No. I think that's the only way you can forget, because if you want to forget that person who pain you, and you talk also, how can it be possible?
Yeah, you said to improve. You know what is my weakness? You know, so it's this kind of things. Another weakness that I have, probably sometimes I don't talk too much. Well, now I talk because I had all questions, but usually I like brief talks. You know, when I give a speech in the institute, I'm not very long. I like to talk only about the important things, not about things which are not.
Yeah,
really
actually, here I would like to take a little bit liberty that I saw your honorary doctoral speech, and so there I saw that how you touched everything, but without getting too complicated or too scientific or too. Many times I feel that I become, for me I understand everything, but I put this is for an audience. It's very tedious. So if you wanted to tell that I am working on SARS-CoV-2, you just put our field picture without any graph, no need of graph. It means you care for the audience.
Yeah, exactly. You are right. It took me a long time to prepare this talk, but because in the audience was everybody from my school, from people from my school. It was even the director of the school when I was a teenager. He was 91. I was a priest. So I tried to make something very general, and I mentioned your presentation, your slide, and I tried to do something which is clear with not much graphs. And this took me quite a long time, but I think it was the best way to do. I think. Sorry, it was in Catalan, but yeah, of course you could not follow. But anyway, it's the graph. Of course, the pictures you could follow, and you could see all my life more or less there.
I mean. Actually, now it is correlated with my professor. Professor Furumai used to tell me that, you don't give presentation to show your depth or show your knowledge.
No, exactly.
Give a presentation to suit the audience, to appeal the audience.
Yeah.
So I mean, So I knew, I was talking to some guy, my postdoc another day, and I said that, I was very amazed. He didn't even pick a graphical abstract, and not only from my work, but his all journey. He just mentioned everything. He didn't leave anything that he is doing, but all were very easy to understand, a kind of a discovery channel kind of thing, not like so I really congratulations for that.
Thank you. No, now, by the way, I will have another. I'm awarded also for another honoris causa in the south of Spain, in Almeria. That will be in October, November. I will let you know when it's. But my intention was to show a bit more from your. Will be more on water treatment, and I will show more of our work. So
okay,
I will let you know.
Sure. I mean, this is. It was like very privileged that. Many times, such a august gathering have seen our picture and known our work. So thank you very much for letting our work. Yeah.
Thanks to you. Thank you.
Yeah. So last question of this conversation is that if you were not an academician, what you would have been?
When I was younger, I wanted to be journalist, working for a newspaper. Even I like the movies. I had the idea to be more movie director, not actor, but director, writing the scripts, writing the. So I like the, let's say, natural science, not natural, social sciences. I like also too. In fact, I did a couple of years of literature. So. I could do other things, but okay. I think writing a newspaper or becoming in the cinema, in the movies, that could be something that probably in my next life, or I don't know when, I will choose.
So this is related to just extension of this question is that. So do you have any bucket list that you would like to do after the retirement?
Well, I know. First, my bucket list is to be in a good health.
Yeah.
A good health. I want to do. Well, I like when I was younger. I did paintings myself too. I was painting when I was younger, so that could be one possibility. I also like music. So that's something that I wanted to learn more, to play the guitar or things like that. I started when I was younger. So these are in my backup list, if let's say. I also like very much music, pop music and any music, like Ravi Shankar from India.
Wow.
And the daughter is playing.
Yeah.
But
so
anyway, music I like very much. So that's something that if I had time, I would learn. Yeah.
Any favorite quote? Because you said that you used to write. So any mantra or quote of your favorite, or which guide you, or something like that.
Quote. I mean, like sentence or something like that.
Yeah. Some sentence, some kind of mantra that let's suppose somebody say that honesty is the best policy, kind of thing.
I don't. I don't. Although in somewhere at home, I have the Bhagavad Gita. The book, the Bhagavad Gita. Because at a certain point, I did not tell you now, but because you are from India, you will. When I was younger, the Hare Krishna came to Barcelona, and I was visiting them quite often. So I was with Hare Krishna sometimes. So I learned a little bit about the philosophy. So I don't have any special one.
Okay, so here we comes at the end. I mean, you remain agile. You didn't ask me to stop video recording for even a minute. And so this is, your energy level is something very, very unimaginable. And I want to put it on the record that this is the first time I am seeing one-to-one, even virtually. Physically, we could not meet. And so this was my first virtual one-to-one talk, and what a talk it has been. I mean, I could not have, I never got to know a person so deep on my first meeting. I can.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. It was a really nice conversation.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
Yeah, so thank you so much.